Good afternoon, everyone. Kahit konti tayo, no? Mas intimate. Okay, welcome to the SEARCA Agriculture and Development Seminar Series. The SEARCA ADSS is meant to encourage the presentation and discussion of development and research issues, as well as their implications for agricultural and rural development and natural resources management. Thus, we encourage the audience, you, to engage in the open forum after our speaker's presentation. We are very fortunate to have with us for our speaker this afternoon a former SEARCA scholar who came all the way from Zamboanga City. He is currently the Chief of the Plans and Program Section of the Department of Agriculture, Zamboanga City. Mr. Lara finished Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, cum laude, from the University of Southern Mindanao, Cabacan, Cotabato. He received his diploma in Urban and Regional Planning with specialization in Environment and Natural Resource Planning from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and then went on to pursue further this field of specialization and obtain his master's in Urban and Regional Planning, also from the same university in 2011. As Planning Officer and Project Coordinator of the Department of Agriculture, he led the formulation of the comprehensive land use plans for various local government units, integrating climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies. Mr. Lara was also involved in several projects and initiatives focusing on regional poverty reduction action programs in Zamboanga Peninsula, climate change vulnerability and adaptation assessment, food security and natural resource management. In 2013, Mr. Lara became the fourth recipient of the SEARCA-Beahrs Environmental Leadership Program training scholarship, which allowed him to participate in a 3-week summer certificate course on sustainable environmental management at the University of California, Berkeley. The training program, attended by 38 environmental leaders from 24 countries all over the world, aimed to broaden the knowledge and perspectives of mid-career professionals like Mr. Lara on environmental and natural resource science, policy, management, and leadership. In his travel report, Mr. Lara said, and I quote, "As I embark on a higher mission of working for the environment, the learnings and insights from the course will help the government plan, manage, and make priority programs and projects for the environment and for sustainable development. My training will be applied in helping the Department of Agriculture formulate the regional action plan for hazard risk reduction and climate change adaptation." Ladies and gentlemen, here to further share with us his experiences, learnings, and insights from the Environmental Leadership Program through his paper entitled "Scaling Up for a Collaborative Environmental Change, Environmental Leadership Program, ELP, Insights and Challenges." Please welcome our 2013 SEARCA-Beahrs ELP awardee, Mr. Rey B. Lara.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Distinguished officials of SEARCA and staff, SEARCA scholar, students, researchers, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon. Buenas tardes a todos. It is my great honor and privilege to be here this afternoon to share my salient learnings during my attendance in the 13th Beahrs Environmental Leadership Program for Sustainable Environmental Management at the University of California in Berkeley. This was conducted last June 26 to July 19, 2013, with the objective of providing state-of-the-art training for mid-career professionals and capacitating them in environmental sustainability. This training program is a dynamic learning journey for leadership and for sustainability. This provides me with vital learnings and skills to drive agenda for environmental change. And as ELP alumni, I am part of the global network for environmental leaders and experts in the environmental field, with our vision is to put our world into a sustainable path and will become players and decision makers in sustainability, creating and implementing policies and strategies that will affect future generations. I should like to begin by reflecting on this lecture, scaling up for a collaborative environmental change, environmental leadership program, insights and challenges. Today's sustainable development, environmental leaders are faced with dual challenges. That is, of protecting the environment while enlarging economic opportunities, particularly to the most vulnerable society. To bring about transformational change for sustainable future, we need to collaborate. We need to take action collectively to ensure that sustainability agenda influence critical decision making. As ELP alumni for 2013, we rally and support environmental sustainability as indicator for building sustainable future. This is an indicator in decision-making process. My presentation revolved on the following outline. First is I'll be discussing the global environmental crisis that we are facing. The second is the direct drivers of environmental crisis. The program overview of the environmental leadership program. The learnings from the ELP collaboration and the collaborative outcomes. And the sustainability and the ELP challenges. Let's talk about the state of the planet. Climate change poses a great challenge to global environment and humanity. It represents one of the most critical environmental challenges as it impacts exceed environmental damage. Based on the scientific projections, that in 2050, if we continue to live, or if we continue to what we live today, by 2050 we need 4 Earths. And by 2100, we need 4 Earths to absorb the pollution. And secondly is to provide the necessary resources. Because our Earth, we have scarce resources now. So by 2100, we need 4 Earths to provide the necessary resources. The food, the water, and of course to absorb pollution. This is a global challenge for us. Students, researchers, policymakers. Unless we need a new pattern of growth, or we need to introduce we need to introduce an innovation that these obsolete technologies will be phased out from clean technologies that guaranteed social, economic, and green growth. Today, we experience climate change, sea level rise, the frequency of typhoons hitting our country, Philippines, and lately Typhoon Yolanda in the central part of the Visayas. This is the challenge for us, that we should build and we should help the government, the private sectors, to make these communities, to make our country resilient from this impact of climate change. Now, I think you're familiar with ecological footprints. Measuring ecological footprint, or it is the world premier measure on the humanity's demand for nature. It is an accounting system that tracks our demand for nature, on how much land and water will be used, or that the human population uses from nature. Then in 2003, Humanity's ecological footprint exceeds the ecological capacity of the Earth by 25%. This is a challenge for us. And based on the projection that by 2050, the humanity's ecological footprint will double. Now, what is the importance of measuring ecological footprint as an individual, as a business, as a society, or as a nation? So that we could assure our pressure on the planet. At the same time, we help us manage our ecological assets more wisely and take personal and collective in support to a world where humanity lives within the earth balance. I think some of you have seen these slides. Transgressing the safe operating space. In 2009, a 28 internationally renowned scientists had identified and quantified set of planetary boundaries. There are 9. If you count, if you see the slide, there are 9 planetary boundaries. And the objective of the scientists is to determine which of these 9 planetary boundaries had transgressed. And secondly, which of these boundaries where humanity can continue to develop and thrive for generations to come. And based on their study, 3 boundaries had already transgressed. It's climate change, which we experience today. The second is the biological loss. And the third is the nitrogen input to the biosphere. Crossing other boundaries would adversely affect the environment, have adverse impact to the environment. Or it would seriously threaten the ability to stay in a safe level. While respecting to these boundaries would reduces the risk to human society. It's very evident that climate change now are crossing boundaries since we are experiencing catastrophic impacts of climate change. As I had mentioned, in the context of agriculture, since I am working in the Philippine Department of Agriculture, we face that the agri sector is highly dependent on climate. But through climate change, there was huge production losses of our livestock and crop commodities. So these are really critical issues. And now the Department of Agriculture is embarking on a climate food production system, wherein we're going to establish a climate resilient agricultural programs and projects. That's the trend now. We are providing climate smart technologies to our farmers and fisher folks. We provide insurance to our farmers and fisher folks. We invest in technology development, as well as we invest on assessing the vulnerability of these sub-DZ areas, or the strategic agriculture and fishery development zone, because these sub-DZ areas are highly vulnerable to climate change. I think of the total 500,000 sub-DZ areas in the Philippines, 20% of that is not anymore feasible for crop production, because these are converted to wetlands or drylands. So we need to assess the vulnerability of these sub-DZ areas, because this will affect, in turn, the food security condition of the country. And of course, we keep on providing capacity building assistance to the local government units, because we see to it that climate change adaptation would be mainstream in their local development planning. Since the LGU are required to produce comprehensive land use plan and comprehensive development plan, we see to it that their plans, the climate change adaptation and mitigation, are mainstream in their plan. Countdown to climate change. On the danger point of global warming, the temperature is rise beyond which the world would irretrievably committed to disastrous rates. And now we're facing catastrophic impacts of climate change. The frequency of typhoons, and now, before Mindanao is a typhoon-free zone. That's our comparative advantage. because Mindanao has fast-track agricultural lands, potential for agri-production, and typhoon-free zone. But now, there's a climate exchange. Because I think for the last 2 years, we've been hit by 2 extreme typhoons in Davao del Norte, I think in Davao Oriental, and of course in Cagayan de Oro. And this is a serious challenge. Now, so the impact of climate change, water shortage. We already experienced water shortage. Long dry spell, which would affect the food production system of our farmers. Increased diseases, spreading of new diseases. Melting of Iceland, okay, and sea level rise. Now, toxic chemicals and waste poison also pose greater challenges in the environment and humanity. And the World Health Organization, based on their study, that about 8.3% of the preventable deaths and 5.7% of this disease-related impact are caused by toxic chemicals. The Global Environment Facility, or the GEP, which is of the United Nations, is trying to regulate the utilization or sound management of these toxic chemicals. And in 2004, these toxic chemicals and waste poison account to be the 5th leading killer, worse than accidents. Very crucial issues. And the Department of Agriculture is supporting to this because we have the Organic Agriculture Program, or the OEP, because we want to target that by 2016, we need to have sufficient supply of organic rice because consumers now are health conscious. We're going to reduce the utilization of commercial pesticides and fertilizers because these are toxic to health. So the DA is pushing towards massive shifting from traditional farming to organic farming because we want to see to it by 2016 we are sufficient in terms of organic rice. Sea level rise. One of the pressing issues we are facing today are the sea level rise. Much of the Asian rapid population and economic growth are concentrated along the coastal areas, especially in the Philippines. If we can observe that most of our cities or highly urbanized areas are occurring in the coastal areas or low-lying areas, and based on the International Panel for Climate Change in their 4th assessment report, that these low-lying areas or these coastal areas are hotspot or they are vulnerable to sea level rise, and the population of these areas are increasing, which would mean that there is potentially, or these lives would potentially lose in the near future if the sea level rise were to occur. So this is a challenge for us to make these coastal communities resilient to sea level rise. Is the construction of the seawall protection is enough to make these communities adapted to sea level rise? Or do we need to migrate this population residing along these coastal cities? This is the challenge of the local government unit and the Philippine government to make a sound decision on how to make and to build resilience among these coastal communities. Because as I've mentioned, 90% of the cities and urbanizing areas are concentrated along the coastal areas. And they are highly vulnerable to the impact of sea level rise. A typical example is what happened in Tacloban last November, where almost 6,000 lives were lost. Devastating properties, loss to the economy, and wiping the area. Like ground zero, like Zamboanga, 5 barangays, ground zero. So this is the challenge that we have to look for. countdown to fisheries depletion. Based on the study made by the Food and Agri Organization, or FAO, that over 70% of the world fish species are fully exploited or depleted. With the alarming rates or increased utilization of destructive fishing techniques such as dynamites, it will totally wipe out or destroy the marine ecosystems or the fish sanctuary. And based on the FAO study, 3% are underexploited. 3%. Very critical. And we have increasing population. Okay. 20% are moderately exploited. 52% are fully exploited. 17 are overexploited. 7% are depleted, and only 1% are recovering from depletion. This is a crucial challenge. And the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources is trying to have a stocking program to generate these species, but it's not enough. And of course, the local government units is trying to conserve their municipal water boundary, 15-kilometer radius. If we could see in the picture, in the 1950s, 1960s, the size of the fish is comparable to human size. But today, it's getting smaller. It's true. Sustainable cities is one of the agenda now. We want to have a climate resilient city. We want to have sustainable city. In the context of environmental planning, we need to have sustainable cities for sustainable future. And let me give to you some of the facts and figures. Okay? So it states here that half of humanity, or 3.5 billion people, live in cities today. It's true. That by 2030, almost 30% of the world population will live in urban areas. Very evident in the Philippines that these metropolitan areas are highly populated, requiring access to services, health, sanitation, housing, open spaces, food, and employment. Then 95% of urban expansion in the next decade will take place in the developing world. 828 million people live in slums today, and the number keeps rising. So if you observe Metro Manila, the slums are growing to an unprecedented level. And these slums, inadequate, if you could see the picture, this is a typical classic example of a slum area. Poor housing. Then the waste, the sanitation is a major problem. And they are very vulnerable. They're vulnerable sectors in the urban areas. So what we need is to shift. There will be a paradigm shift that we need to have sustainable cities. We want to build a proper sustainable cities. We want that this population, the urban dwellers, will have sustainable services, urban services, in terms of low-cost housing, open spaces, services for health, food, sanitation, and even employment, and of course, transportation facilities. In Metro Manila, we have very bad transportation. We don't have good transportation planning, as these are indicators for sustainable cities. Transportation planning. We have only MRT, but the system is not good. So sustainable cities is one of the agenda today that we need to, that the government is trying, the local government unit is trying to address. Forest degradation. Forests are a prime example of ecosystems with multiple benefits for the mitigation of climate change, promoting sustainable development, conservation of biodiversity, and contributing to national economies. Yet, This well-documented benefit of forests continue to be degraded and destroyed at alarming rates. Investing in forest ecosystem is vital to reduce loss of forests, retaining important ecosystem goods and services, and reducing the emission when the forests are converted into other land uses. And it's sad to note that some of these forest land areas are converted into agricultural land areas for livelihood purposes. Many urban settlers are now migrating to forest land areas because of livelihood purposes. This is a crucial challenge for us. Now, drivers growing intensely. If we could see the present in the slides, climate change have very rapid increase on the impact straight of all the sectors, from the forest, dryland, inland water, up to the polar mountain and polar. We see climate change have increasing impact, very rapid increase of the impact, as well as the pollution, nitrogen and phosphorus. Now, let's go to the environmental leadership program. So, the ELP is a timely program for us environmental leaders to help the government, the private sector, manage, plan the environment for sustainable development. So, the objective of ELP is to lead the way to a more sustainable world, bring transformational change for sustainable future, and ensure that environment sustainability agenda. Now, this ELP program takes place at the University of California at Berkeley. Now, the mission of the program is to provide state-of-the-art training for the new generations of environmental leaders around the world, and facilitate global peer learning and international collaboration among ELP alumni and their institutions and the University of California in Berkeley, with the end goal of sustaining preserving the environment, as well as expanding the economy. Now, in terms of, I'll presenting to you for information, geographic distribution of participants over the last 30 years. And for the last 30 years, it's Southeast and Southeast Asia. Participants from the Southeast or East Asia dominated the program by about 26%. Okay. Followed by Northeast Africa. And in 2013, Beahrs, is Africa dominated the participants. In terms of professional discipline, over the last 30 years, most of the participants have strong background in environmental sciences, which is 31%, followed by agro, forestry, and physical sciences, social sciences, 15 and 14% respectively. And in 2013, most of the participants, or 33% of the participants, have strong background in environmental sciences, as well as social sciences. Accounting at 33% and 29% respectively. In terms of type of organization, over the last 30 years, most of the participants are coming from the non-government organization, 24%. Then in 2013, academic dominating number of participants, followed by the national non-government organization and the government by 23% and 22% respectively. In terms of gender makeup, men and women are equal. Is it proportionate over the last 30 years? Or is dominated by male than female? But in 2013, it's proportionate by the number of male and female, 50-50. Now, what are the ELP challenges? In the Philippines, we have good number of ELP alumni, we have about 113 from 2001 to 2013. And these alumni don't have collaboration or don't have networks. So what we intend is to organize a network of these alumni to foster effective collaboration towards environmental sustainability. We have good number of alumni. We are the second leading is Indonesia, rank first, followed by the Philippines. So this good number of alumni should play a vital role in the development process, the environmental sustainability. So we're planning to establish an ELP alumni network in the Philippine context. Then we have also availability of funding source. We have the Kingman Small Grant Initiative. The University of California will provide, the College of Natural Resources through the university will provide about $5,000 to finance environmentally related projects. And I think since 2001 up to 2013, wala na tayong na-develop. Ako, sa that time is 17, so I'm trying to develop a proposal, isubmit dun sa university. Sana ma-approve yun, para at least meron na tayong tangible accomplishments. Isaya, over the last 13 years, the government is investing, SEARCA is investing for this Beahrs program, and we need also to help. Okay. Now, what did we learn from the ELP collaboration? So, we need to collaborate this ELP alumni. Diversity. We are diverse. We have different skills and ideas. We want to be connected across the globe. These environmental networks, global environmental networks, will serve as a mechanism for us to interface, discuss, ventilate environmental issues, and suggest doable solutions. Shared concern, sharing of ideas. So we have the ELP network. We have a social networking sites. We have the ELP networking site. We have the ELP 2013, which we openly provide feedback, network, and ventilate environmental issues across the globe. Pooling of our resources. Now, in terms of ELP collaborative outcomes, we are aiming that we will be involved in the decision-making process. For the local government units, for the non-private sector, we want this ELP alumni to be involved in the decision-making process. Handling conflict. As alumni, maybe we are trained to handle environmental issues. Shared vision and values. Satisfaction and commitment with the project, particularly environmentally related projects. Support recognition and achievement of the project, lasting networks. So you want this network sustainable. Then scaling up collaborative impacts. The first one is, we need to have an increased awareness. As ELP alumni, we need to have an increased awareness of environmentally sustainable development. We use every opportunity to raise awareness in the public, government, industry, and academia by openly addressing the urgent need to move toward an environmentally sustainable future. Second is we want to create an institutional center for sustainability by encouraging all the state universities and colleges, even the private colleges and universities, to engage, of course, in research, policy formation, and information exchange, particularly in the population, environment, and development to move towards global sustainability. We want to educate environmentally responsible citizens by establishing programs to produce expertise in environmental management, sustainable economic development, and related fields to ensure that university graduates are environmentally literate and have the awareness and understanding to be ecologically responsible citizens. Then we want to have a foster environmental literacy for all by creating programs to develop the capability of the academic, the government, institutional ecology, policies and practices of resource conservation, recycling, waste reduction, and environmentally sound operation. We want to involve all stakeholders. We want to be involved in the planning, monitoring, and evaluation. We want to encourage the involvement of the government, the private sector, and the industry in supporting the crafting of the research, education, and policy formation. We want to expand our network with the community, as well as non-government organizations, to assist in the finding solution to environmental problems. We want also to collaborate for interdisciplinary approaches. We have to convene the players with environmental practitioners to develop interdisciplinary approaches, research initiatives, operation and outreach activities that support environmentally sustainable future. We want to enhance capacity of primary and secondary schools. We want to mainstream environmental education in the primary and secondary schools. We want to broaden service and outreach nationally and internationally. And we're going to maintain the movement. So the challenge now is we're going to establish an ELP network in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia. Now, what are the sustainability environmental challenges that ELP must go for? So I think these are the top 7 challenges that we want to be involved in the decision-making process, the crafting of policies and strategies. So nauna po yung climate change dun, which is a very emerging crucial issues we are facing today that really affect humanity and the global environment. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. The floor is now open for your questions. Any questions from the audience? Yes. Can you introduce yourself?
I am Silvino Marca. I am a retired sea pathologist. Thank you for a nice presentation. It gives us some feeling that there are some sort of people that are being organized or you are organizing. But I know that you have a big challenge because from your presentation, you do not seem to have any concrete projects yet, though you are 113. From my experience, people coming to training in different parts of the world, they are not organized when they return back to their mother countries. Especially so, if, I don't know, maybe I am wrong, but if you come from a government office, then normally you do not have money or support from your organization. Not unless you propose a big project that you can have money. So your department or your agency will recognize you and give you a chance to do your work. So I know that one thing is that you have to increase credibility. I know that if you are credible, then people from the ENR and other places in other FGU will contact you. And I have not felt from your presentation some sort of atmosphere like that, that people will be clamoring to get your expertise. Another way maybe is that you present yourself to the different senators and congressmen that are involved. This is true.
Yes, sir.
That are involved and have money for environment. Then you will have a good chance of collecting all the other 112 graduates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marca. Yes.
Actually, sir, thank you for that sort of recommendation. At present, I am involved in the implementation of the National Convergence Program, wherein we orchestrate or we involve the DA, the DENR, and the DAR, and of course the DILG in the implementation of the Upland Development Program. And we focus on the rehabilitation of the watersheds. Now, these 4 agencies are providing the resources, And our first project is we're going to pilot watersheds needs urgent rehabilitation. So these agencies are providing the resources, technical expertise, at the same time kind support, in order that this project will become sustainable. Then secondly is we're implementing the green agribusiness and green agri-enterprise project. We're initiating this one, but this will take up, I think, in the first quarter of 2014. We're going to encourage all the POs along the upland areas to invest on massive plantation and green plantation program. And the DA will provide, the Department of Agriculture will provide funding facilities, credit assistance, marketing support. We're going to lead their product to the international market if they will pass the, at the same time, the DAR, also the DNR, will have to identify feasible areas possible for expansion of the these upland areas, because I know the DNR have this data because of the limited land resource now. The DNR now is trying to map out these potential areas for agricultural production in collaboration with our office, since the DA will be providing production support services, seeds, organic fertilizers, the same time market support and credit assistance, including training to the POs and farmers organization. Because we want to scale up these projects to other regions. And secondly, we're also planning to establish a regional ELP program. I initially talked with the director of the DNR that we're going to adopt the concept, because we want to also train regional environmental leaders in the region and scale up to other regions.
Any more questions?
Just a follow-up. I've been attending SEARCA seminars, and there were plenty of projects funded by the European community about reforestation, especially in Mindanao. Are you taking hold of these results and also the people that they have trained?
What project is that, sir?
There are plenty of rehabilitation projects and reforestation projects funded by European communities. And several of the projects have been presented right here in this seminar. I just cannot cite you one of them.
I don't know the particular project, but one it's a little project that I learned, and it's really scalable. This project is run by the World Bank in partnership with the DA and the MRDP. We have the so-called the Mindanao Rural Development Program, or the MRDP. This is a long-term project, and one of the components of the program is the NRM, or the Natural Resource Management component, where we're going to provide intervention along these coastal areas, because the program adopted the ridge-to-rim approach. So we're training these POs, providing assistance, as well as we're establishing marine sanctuary for fish, as we say, planting bamboo along the rivers, and providing livelihood of the people of the POs in the area. So I think as of 2013, almost 50 POs now were trained and provided with technical assistance, because the local government unit will have to counterpart about, I think, 30%. If the total project cost of the proposal is about 5 million, the LGU will counterpart, I think, 10%. That will cover labor costs if the project entails structural and then other purposes. And the MRDPDA will provide 90%. It's grant, it's not a loan. And now the program expanded. We now call it one as Philippine Rural Development Program, and it has 4 components. So we have the I-Build component. This more on structural projects, farm to market road. We have the IRIP components. The IRIP is for livelihood and agribusiness assistance. We have the I-Support. It's more on project monitoring and evaluation, at the same time capacity building for the LGUs. Then we have I-Build, I-Support. It's not I-Quit. The program will commence first quarter of 2013, and it's nationwide. It's nationwide. This is a big project funded by the World Bank. And our approach now is value chain analysis and market-oriented approach. We're using that as our approach in the program implementation. So by 2016, we want that all our farm-to-market roads, but farm-to-market road will be completed, because this is part of our climate resilient infrastructure program. Before, the DA is only providing 1 million for every kilometer of farm-to-market road. Then after a year, when kung merong bad weather or typhoon, madaling masisira yun. And now, we increase our investment to a 1 kilometer farm-to-market road by 6 million. Because we want to see to it na that road will be concretized. Concrete na talaga siya na walang rehabilitation over the next 50 years. So, itong EPRDP is a big program that will be in the next, the first quarter of 2040, and the program will end, I think, in 2020.
So you will need big help from. I'm not joking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You will just what you are saying. You need for the farm to market road. You need more money. That is why I suggest to you that maybe you should have some lobbying with the corresponding senators and congressmen, because they are also involved in
Exactly, sir.
making projects and also making laws and regulations.
Right, no, sir. I think in 2014 there is no allocation for DAF and PDAF for the senators and congressmen. So I think all this fund will go to the agency, the Department of Agriculture. So there's no need anymore to lobby these higher authorities, because it's now the department will have to prioritize.
But you can lobby for the law itself,
Yeah.
not for the fund.
And I'd like to share the downside of lobbying this program, because this congressman do know the importance of giving this program. Most of the congressmen, senators, just will provide funds, but see to it that these funds will go to this place. And this place is not feasible for giving this assistance. This project has no economic uses. It's not functioning. So it's now the DA who will map out which areas needs repair, urgent repair, completing of farm-to-market roads. Yeah. Yes, sir?
I'm Dr. Florencio Mauricio. I'm a forester,
Yes, sir.
and I am interested in your environmental program. Well, I would like to share my experience when I was still young and handsome. I was a member of the group which assisted the government of Palawan, or the environmental program of Palawan, and our group consisted of some members of the faculty here at UP Los Baños. Two of us came from the Ecosystem Research Development Project, Bureau of the DNR. Several were local professionals in Palawan. And then in the World Bank project in Caraga, we have the same group, the same status of the members of the group, academicians from the academe, from the DNR, from the DA, and people, native professionals. And what we did was we had these seminars, and then we visited the areas that are problematic, and we had consultations and programs with the local leaders.
Yes.
And then we prepared a program to be funded by, in the case of Palawan, by the Asian Development Bank, and in the case of the Caraga region, to be funded by the World Bank, plus some contribution from the Philippine government. And, I would like to inform that some of these projects, some of these recommendations or indicated in the projects are not followed, because look what happened at the Visayas and Palawan when that storm came up. When, as you said, more than 6,000 people were escaped to the sky, left us here to suffer more maladies. Well, in the case of forestry, I recommended the reforestation of the swamps. That there are several species in the swamps depending on the distance from the shore and the depth of the water. And then in the mountains, there should be this improved reforestation program that instead of using only one species to be planted in the same area at the same time, there should be several species so that you will have 4 canopies, so that instead of only what is being done now in forestry, you have only one species planted in the same area at the same time, and so you have only 2 canopies, the upper and the lower. But if you want several species, you should have the top canopy, the secondary canopy, the intermediate canopy, and the bottom canopy, so that instead of 2 canopies, preventing the dropping of the raindrops, you have 4 canopies. And, well, probably, we believe, we researchers in the RD, we believe that with 4 canopies, you will have less floods in the lowlands and increase the production of the lowland areas. And probably, and again, minimize the falling down of trees, rocks, and soil into the lowlands. I suggest also, I therefore suggest that, if you have not, probably, but you have probably done it, you should employ, you should also convince some foresters, especially those who are in the field, to be a member of this environmental program group.
Thank you, sir. Police, I'd like to share also, because I'm also involved in the drafting of the Philippine Master Plan for Forestry, wherein we integrate building resiliency in the forestry sector. And during the consultation process, it was recommended that there's a need to mangrovize. We need to massive rehabilitation of the mangrove areas as a strategy for climate change mitigation, and it was noted. Then secondly is this mangrove area also, it was recommended that this mangrove area also will serve as ecotourism sites, bird watching sites, for the people. Yeah, because I was invited by DENR to be part of the crafting of the Philippine Master Plan for Forestry Sector Resiliency. So these were the recommendations, and at the same time, the planting of the bamboo along the creeks and the river is one of the classic strategies for climate change adaptation and mitigation. Yeah, I think that the plan will, by June, the plan will be available. It's a Philippine Master Plan for building climate resiliency in forestry sector. And the SEARCA is also input into that.
Again, I should like to make some comments.
Yes, sir.
The program may be very good, but the people around there do not believe in the program, especially the politicians, the poor people whose livelihood is to destroy the environment. So probably there should be more strict, strict by the police,
Police power,
by the armed forces,
armed forces.
so that this destruction of the environment should be minimized, if not eradicated, so that the efforts in the environmental program, the projects in the environmental program will be successful.
Yes, sir. That's true, sir. In fact, the DENR is kept investing in massive training program in the entire Philippines, and I would like to share this that downside issue of implementing environmental programs, because one of the what you call that, it's not success factors, but these are constraining factors in the implementation of environmental programs and projects, that the succession of leadership in the LGU would hamper the implementation of the project. If there is newly elected mayor, then the mayor will not assume the project, because it's not his project. So that's our problem. Then secondly is still political problem, because I have to share this. We have imagine 70 kilometers farm to market road circulating the municipality. This project is funded by the Asian Development Bank. All requirements are intact, completed except one requirements. That is a resolution from the Sangguniang Bayan to proceed the project. But because the mayor and the vice mayor and the kagawads are not in good terms, they could not produce that SB resolution signed by the SB to proceed the project. Imagine, it's a 70-kilometer farm-to-market roads that would circulate the entire municipality. But because of this political crisis in the municipality, this project was sacrificed, and ultimately to the constituents of the municipality. It's a very sad story that we had during the implementation of some of our projects. Political crisis in the area. Yes, sir.
This is becoming interesting. The reason why I say it's becoming interesting is that I am also doing some work with farmers and other people. But even if we have a very good program, sometimes we forget, especially on big projects like what you are involved in. Are you employing some sociologists? Because the reason is that you will have to make an attitude change to the different stakeholders. Number one is the primary driver of the climate change is the humans, the people.
Yes,
Because they go out and deposit the trees because they don't have money. Okay, the number two layer will be the barangay layer and then the politician layer. So I think to become very successful in the Philippines, I think you should have to employ good sociologists and their evaluation at every step.
That's right, sir.
So that you can reverse the poor people from extracting the forest and over-extracting the fishes in the sea.
This is a very good recommendation, sir. But in fact, our project is one of the 6 strategies that we are employing just to ensure the project implementation is we want to prepare these POs and the beneficiaries. We call that a social preparation. Before the project, before we will be implementing the project, we're going to have a master list, full master list of these beneficiaries, of these displaced families, of these farmers. Then we're going to capacitate them, orient them from A to Z. That this is the project, this is the goal of the project, these are the constraining factors, etc. So that they have a full understanding of what are the obligations after the project will be completed. Then, at the same time, institutional development. The after project completion, that the project will be sustained without project assistance from the government agencies and the international organization. So we're going to have an institutional building through social preparation. And even the World Bank project through DA, they have also such kind of strategies, social preparation, before the project will be implemented. Because I think over a decade, we have many projects in the DA which are not working. It's not utilitarian. There's no economic uses for that project. It's what you call that one is only, you can see the structure, but it's not being used by the farmers. And the DA is investing on this by million pesos. But there is no economic uses. And this time, with our strategy, we will be involving the farmers, the POs in the planning process. What are the problems? We're going to dissect what are their problems, pressing problems, we're going to rank them, and we're going to give interventions because these are their priority. But before the planning process is top-down. Top-down planning process is the governor, is the director, is the secretary will have to say, oh, this is the project, we're going to implement this one on a quota basis. For example, Davao region, you need to have 150 units of plastic dryers. And these plastic dryers are not marketable to the farmers. Imagine, because this project are not field needs of the farmers. So now we have the so-called bottom-up planning and budgeting, or BUB, wherein farmers now, the POs, are empowered and they're involved in the planning process. These are the projects that we wanted to avail. Because we want this project. And this will be submitted to the region for evaluation, then for funding the project. So hopefully this project, this approach will be sustained. Because we see it as an inclusive approach towards sustainable implementation, of the project at the local level. We want these farmers, these POs to be involved in the planning process. So that's why we call that as bottoms-up planning in budgeting, or the BUB. Unlike before, it's only a top-down planning, where the governor, the director would only say, oh, this is your project. But it's not utilitarian. It don't have, wala economic benefits yung project. Structural nakalagay doon, ginagawang ng mga bata, playground, yung mga bodega hindi ginagamit. Sayang yung investments. And the government is investing. Your taxes. That is your taxes. Pero hindi siya utilitarian. Walang gamit. Sayang.
Okay, thank you very much.